Shavua Tov, welcome to a new week, to my community, my family out there. I'm Rolene Marks. This is the Israel Brief brought to you by Lay of the Land. For all our Jewish viewers and listeners, I hope that you had a wonderful Purim. I know many of us weren't really in the mood to celebrate anything yesterday, but Purim again reminds us, and it's of how history repeats itself. 2,500 years in Persia, there was an evil man called Haman, and who wanted to eliminate the Jewish people, and we defeated him. Haman is no more. Generations later, our brave warriors are engaged in warfare. Today is day 171 of our war against Hamas, a modern day incarnation of Haman. As we say at Pesach time, in every generation they rise up, but the Almighty vanquishes them all. To our Christian friends who are starting to observe the Holy Week of Easter, we wish you all a very, very blessed and spiritual week. I know today is Palm Sunday. Correct me if I am wrong, but we wish you all a very, very blessed Easter. Let's take a look at those top stories. And just a short while ago, after a lull of 2 months, the Iron Dome intercepted 8 rockets fired from the Gaza Strip towards the city of Ashdod. That has been confirmed by the IDF. Now, in tandem with that, we do have rockets still being fired from Hezbollah in the south of Lebanon into Israel's northern territory, as well as alerts for a possible drone infiltration a short while ago as well. So it is important to know that we are very much a country at war. It is on multiple fronts. And one of the areas of great concentration at the moment is Shifa hospital inside the Gaza Strip. Why they call it a hospital is beyond me. I think that Hamas are fully entrenched in their civilian infrastructures and effectively have turned this hospital into a combat zone. So what we know is that after at least 6 days, there are still intense operations carrying on in the Al-Shifa hospital, no pun intended. Over the weekend, in a statement by Israel's Security Association, or the Shabak, and the IDF, at least 800 Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad operatives have been arrested. Israeli troops have uncovered large weapons caches hidden amongst medical equipment, as well as patients and displaced people. I mean, if this is not evidence that Shifa hospital has been turned into a combat zone, I don't know what is. The IDF, while they are operating there in order to try and prevent as much disruption as possible, have brought in medical personnel, Arabic speakers, to try and help ensure that there are no disruptions. Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad terrorists have been firing on IDF troops with RPGs, with mortars, and we have returned fire there. It knocked out the electricity, and the IDF managed to restore electricity to Shifa hospital. But mortars and RPGs are also causing significant damage to the hospital infrastructure. The IDF is also operating in the Qatari and the Al Nasser hospitals as well. I mean, it is just absolutely sickening. And where is the World Health Organization to condemn the use of hospitals as human shields? Meanwhile, in an interview with NBC, US Vice President Kamala Harris, when asked about if there will be any consequences for Israel, should Israel continue or persist with a planned incursion into Rafah. Rafah is the last remaining Hamas stronghold in the Gaza Strip. She said, well, there is concern for the civilians who have fled to Rafah. She says she has seen the map. She didn't elaborate on her great military strategy, but said that they have not ruled out consequences for Israel should Israel persist with Rafah. There seems to be an ongoing spat developing between the United Nations and Israel with regards to humanitarian aid. Yesterday, Antonio Guterres, the UN Secretary General, said that more needs to be done, that Israel is withholding aid and needs to open more land crossing. We've also heard from Philippe Lazzarini, the head of UNRWA, the United Nations Relief Works Agency, also making the accusation, as did Tedros Ghebreyesus, the head of the World Health Organization. What I found very interesting is they all seem to spend a lot of time on social media platform X and have all tweeted that out with the same image of a little Palestinian girl. I think that's exploitation of this child in order to drive home their point. In response to that, Israel's foreign minister, along with COGAT, that is the IDF unit specifically tasked with ensuring humanitarian aid, have said that maybe if UNRWA were not so involved with Hamas, a terrorist organization, there would be more effective distribution of aid. According to COGAT, the trucks are going in, but where the bottleneck is with the distribution. COGAT, in a thread on X, said that they are sending in trucks. They are actually using private sector and other agencies to help distribute that aid, but that UNRWA has not made a request for a convoy in at least 6 weeks. They said only in the last few days have there been 3 requests for convoys. However, in 6 weeks they have not asked. Now, one has to wonder if this is not part of maybe a UN or UNRWA strategy to attack Israel, to create the perception that Israel is creating or causing starvation in the Gaza Strip, something that falls in line with Hamas accusations. We know that Hamas and other gangs inside the Strip are hijacking that aid. Last week, Israel released a possible plan for the day after in the Gaza Strip, which would see businessmen not linked to Hamas also be responsible for the dissemination of aid. So we have to ask ourselves, as you can hear rocket alerts that is either north or south incoming. So it's important to note rockets are still being fired into Israeli territory. But back to the UNRWA story, we have to ask the question, is this part of a mass strategy to accuse Israel of the war crime of intentional starvation? Negotiations are still underway for the release of hostages. The last bit of information we were given, and we're not privy to all the negotiation points. We do know that Hamas wants the total withdrawal of IDF troops, something that Israel has said is not going to happen. That's a ludicrous ask. But it's important to note that only if you are in that negotiation room do you know the exact details. So I think we need to be very, very circumspect when we take information from various media. What we do know is that Israel has said we are prepared to release at least 800 Palestinian prisoners, over 100 of them convicted murderers, in exchange for 40 hostages. It is day 171. Time is running out for our hostages. We are extremely, extremely worried. It is also noted that as part of the negotiations, Israel could start allowing for the return of Palestinians back to parts of the northern strip within reason. We don't know what the parameters of those involve, but negotiations are underway, and they are given about a 50-50 chance. And finally, this is a story that goes towards a lot of what we are saying about please be very careful of where you get your information. Al Jazeera, the Qatari-based news agency, which really is a mouthpiece for Hamas, have been forced to retract an article that accuses Israeli troops of sexually abusing Palestinian women in Shifa hospital. According to a former director of Al Jazeera and journalist Nasser Abu Halala, who has said that unfortunately there is no evidence of this. Well, yeah, don't say we didn't tell you that, but we told you that. There is no evidence of this, and they have been forced to retract their article following a Hamas investigation where a woman who made the accusations, when she was asked, she said, yeah, well, there wasn't any accounts of sexual abuse, but I wanted to stir up fervor and brotherhood. I wanted to stir up the nation's fervor and brotherhood. As the brilliant Douglas Murray often says, show me what you accuse the Jews of, and I'll show you what you are guilty of. As we know, there is overwhelming evidence that proves how Hamas committed acts of crimes against humanity by raping, mutilating, murdering, and kidnapping many Israeli women and girls, and as we know, some men on the 7th of October, and while hostages are still being detained. That brings me to the end of today's edition of the Israel Brief. Guys, please don't forget to check out our website at www.layoftheland.online. Our Facebook community is growing. Become a part of it at Lotl site. That's at LOTLSITE. We are on YouTube at the Israel Brief. If you like us, subscribe. And we are on X at Lay of the Land 5. I'm Rolene Marks. Guys, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and I will see you again tomorrow. Much love to you all.